All right, hi. How's it going? As you heard earlier, if you're around, I'm James. I'll be walking you through some Google stuff this afternoon, and I'm glad you're still here. Glad you could make it today. Like they said, we've got presentations all week. This is the only one I'm doing, but we've got some awesome people presenting some cool stuff about technology and just what our students can do and learn. So feel free to sign up and come back later this week. I'll be walking you through some Google Gab stuff. It's strictly ideas and instructional strategies about the Google platform that we've all got now, including Chrome and Chromebooks. If you want to follow along, all you got to do is head to your browser of choice, which for many of you is probably Chrome or Safari or whatever. You can punch in that web address right there and bring you to my presentation, and you can follow along right there. It is case sensitive, so you got to type it in the way it looks: capital J, capital K, capital R, lowercase b, capital R, lowercase u. And like Josh was saying earlier, this is definitely way out of color. You'll get the cool purple one on your screen and not the drab black and gray one up on the big board. And so right off the bat, you probably are learning something. So watch this. So this is a Google Slides presentation. And I just gave you this link, and now you've all got it on your computers. And anyone in your classroom can do that with anything now. Because at the sake of doing a lot of the PD that we did last year, I ran a lot of PD and a couple other people helped too, focusing on Google and Chrome. But now we've got a whole level of students that can be a part of the Chrome experience in middle school. So I'm glad there's a lot of middle school people here today. And Benton is coming on with Chromebook too. But this is something you can do. Anytime you've got a presentation that's in Google Slides, you can toss somebody the link. And real easy, there's a big blue share button up here. When you click that, it actually brings you the link. This is the super long one, and you can just copy and paste that into the presentation itself, and students can get on there and look at it. So it's a really easy way of getting it. Some of you are probably giggling because you see, if you're logged in, I can actually see your name. Hi, Andrea. It's nice to see you. Hello, anonymous rocks, if I remember my RPG days. And there's a cheetah and a camel. So that's what it'll do. If people aren't logged in, it's give a random animal, and there's 32 of you, so we are all together. So I'll go ahead and go into present mode since you're following along. Now, if you don't want to have to remember that and you think this presentation is worth keeping and there's something on here that you think is really cool, and hopefully if we did our job there is, you can hit that file button in the upper left-hand corner of the presentation. You can hit file and hit make a copy. Then you've got your very own that you can manipulate at will, because right now you don't have the ability to change it. But if you want to, say, go back to your school in August and pretend that you created this, by all means, file, make a copy, get rid of our names. It is all yours. No one will know any better. So let's start and talk about Google a little bit. So I've got about 90 minutes. I want to build in some Q&A time. I forgot to put the Q&A bullet up there, but we'll have some time hopefully at the end to do some Q&A. But I want to talk to you a little bit more about the Chromebooks. So we've got a lot of middle school people who interact with them a lot. I really want to get you on board. We're not going to have a lot of the PD like we did last year for a lot of reasons, but hopefully we'll get you up to speed. Talk about Chrome itself. It does exist on your computer, and hopefully we can get you on board with that. Get you deep into some Google stuff. I only want to spend a couple of slides talking about boring procedural things like logging in, and hopefully here in a few minutes I want to get you actually doing instructional strategies that you can use immediately with your students right in the fall. I want to get you doing that. And then, with what time we have left, we'll talk about Google Classroom. Hopefully, on Thursday, you can come back and we'll do sort of a EdCamp unconference. And if you need more stuff about Google Classroom, because we'll have the least amount of time to talk about that, hopefully you can come back on Thursday and we can get some Google Classroom stuff going then. We'll start with some logistical stuff, talk about how to do things, where at, and then some FAQ stuff, just strictly about Google and the Chromebooks. So like I said, hopefully we'll get through this as quick as possible, but these are things probably have questions about or think about. So my big FAQ, when I first started putting on PD, I always get questions from people in my building. I teach at Lafayette, and people in sessions like this. And right off the bat, holy cow, James, I heard these computers don't have a hard drive. That is crazy. Why is the district spending all this money on computers on a hard drive? Patently untrue. They absolutely have a hard drive, so your students can save stuff to them. Absolutely. Now they save stuff Google Drive and the cloud. That also is a major a contributing factor and a good plus. But yeah, they have a hard drive. So if you're in secondary, if you're just getting them at Benton and you're used to the big MacBook and you're sort of sad to see that go, well, you still have 32 gigs of space on that hard drive. I promise it's there. They can use it. Elementary and middle school, and I just checked with Sandy, so that the middle school are getting the smaller Chromebooks, which have a lot of benefits too. You might miss that screen real estate, but they're probably a little sturdier. They have 16 gigs of memory. Now that's probably, like your phone might have more gigabytes of memory than that. Your flash drive might have more gigs of memory than that. But remember, it's a school laptop. Like if your students are going home or you're finding that their space is gone, then you might check their hard drive for, I don't know, the 4th season of Game of Thrones and delete it. But there should be plenty of space for all of the stuff to do in your class and everybody else's class. So that's no worries about space. Holy cow, James, I heard they only work with Wi-Fi. It's so ridiculous. The Wi-Fi goes down all the time. We have nature problems. They only work on Wi-Fi. What are we going to do? Also untrue. All sorts of super untrue. There's a lot of things you can do that don't require the internet on the Chromebooks. Like everything we're going to do today. Everything I'll walk you through today, you can do without Wi-Fi. That's why I chose to show you these things, so that hopefully when all of Missouri's school internet goes down for 2 or 3 hours, you still have some things that you can do. That was happened last year. That was super fun. But you'll still have some offline functionality. It's sort of like black magic. Like you can type an email offline and send it. And then whenever the computer gets back Wi-Fi, it'll send it. Or you can type a whole essay or upload an art project and just whenever it gets back to it, it'll turn on and take care of that. But yeah, they have lots of offline functionality. And I got this question a surprising amount of times, this third one, probably from teachers who've been in our district a while. And I think this goes back to when we all had desktop computers in our rooms. And yeah, some people are laughing because you know what I'm talking about. But they would erase themselves every night when you turn them off. You would do some work on the computer, turn it off, come back next morning, turn it on, it'd be gone. And it's because it's just how they were set up. It was a protection measure. That whatever you did to the computer, you could break it because it erased itself. But no, they don't do that. I don't know who started that rumor, but that doesn't happen, I promise. Even most of us found ways around that just by not turning your computer off every night, but that's fine. I know, right? That was back then. But these don't do that. Absolutely not. Not going to do that. Those hard drives are fine. They are those students for a while. And if you're in elementary school, you have different ways. You have a cart. You have some different things you can do to set that up. But for the rest of us, no, that's the student computer. And they can save stuff to it, and it'll always be there, and they can use their Google account. Holy cow, these don't print. Absolutely true. Yeah, sure, that's true. That's true. There's a lot of reasons, again, for that, and we could talk all day about we like that and don't like that. They just don't. But as you're moving to next year, you're thinking, holy cow, what am I going to do without the ability to print? Well, you've hopefully got a couple months to talk to your department and your administration, your instructional coach, about some things that you can put into place to either get student work to and from them without worrying about that printing option, because they don't. Your teacher computer will print. We're not stripping anyone of that ability. We're just not giving students that ability right now. I say we as if I have some control over it, but no, it's more the royal we, as if Shakespeare was using it. But they don't print. So there's a couple of questions that came up every session all of the time last year. So hopefully that clears up some confusion, especially if you're just now getting the Chromebooks here in fall. Some other questions you might have that has to do with the slide, like when are we getting computers this fall? I don't know. They didn't ask me. So I might talk to, again, your principal or your contact or your tech at your building or whoever is in charge of that. They might know and they might not. So I don't know when the rollout is happening for your building or any of the buildings because they took them all back. So I can't solve that problem, but they should be mostly the same as went last year. Hopefully a little sooner. Ours, I think, came in a few weeks after school started, so hopefully we've got some good ideas for how to get those rolled out. So again, new people, if you had a MacBook in your building last year or an iPad, you probably never dealt with this. But the students have a login, and it'll look like this. First name, last name. Oh, I'm sorry, first name, last initial, and then their graduation year, the last 2 digits of the graduation year. So if you have all third graders, that's probably pretty easy, because you've only got 20 or 25 kids in there, and they all have the same graduation year. Now, if you have something like I teach speech and debate, so I've got all 4 different grades. So the kids hopefully know this, but it won't just all be the same like it would be in a middle school class or an elementary school class. And their password's last name, school ID, just like yours, or important stuff, last name, school ID. So for example, you might have John D19 at blah, blah, and then last name is Doe, etc. That's how students will log in. Again, you can have this. I'm not going to dwell on this, but you have it in front of you. And hopefully people at your school will know this if you never used it before. And again, yours isn't changing at all, but that's how students will log in. I liked, again, I teach high school, so our students took theirs home. But once they were logged in, they were logged in. And that was one of my huge, huge benefits going from like having a cart in my room to these Chromebooks was that, okay, go get the computer out of the cart, open them up, log in. Okay, 5 minutes later, all right, you're still not logged in, you're still going, your computer's not even connected to the Wi-Fi, what are we gonna do? And now, all right, got your computers, boom, ready to go. Because once they log in at all, it stays logged in. And they're 1,000 times faster than any of the computers we had before now. So that's how students log in again. Really exciting procedural logistical stuff, and then we'll get the instructional stuff very quickly. You may have noticed last year, you get to have a new bonus email account. I know, how cool is that, right? Who doesn't want more email accounts? But you've also had that top one, and we used that same email address to now create for you a Google account that you can interact with the students in that same space. We found out very quickly Google Classroom didn't agree with that so much, and so we gave everybody the same bottom email address as the students. So you have that top one, that one doesn't change. It's the same as it always has been. But you also have access to this bottom one now. Your first name, your last name at students.sjsdk.us, etc., etc. Here's how I manage that. I don't mind having a lot of email accounts. I've got 4 or 5. They all forward in the same inbox, and it's just how I've been running since college. Maybe that's not you. So, a real easy way to manage this is to have that top one be your professional school account that you use for professional school things, and use that bottom one with students strictly for student communication. So that when students are emailing you, they know where it goes. And when you're emailing them, you know where it comes from. That's just a real easy way to keep the two separate so that you know what you can use them for and how they operate. You've got access to Google Drive on both and Google Docs on both, but for the most part, a really easy way to separate them is have one just be for professional school stuff, one be for students, communication and student work. And if you're going to use Google Classroom, and I highly suggest you do, you'll have to use that bottom one. And if you're pretty slick, so here's, I made this on my Google Drive. You can actually, some people are always like, hey, I want to log out and log back in all the time. I don't either. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants to log out and back in all the time. You can stay logged in. There's my 4. You can always be logged into all of your emails. And then all you got to do is click back and forth. It's pretty easy once it gets up and running, and we can talk about that later. Like I said, we'll have a lot more time Thursday for super specific stuff. But I stay logged in all the time to all of mine. And your students actually probably will too. They'll have their school account, and they'll figure out pretty easy how to add their personal one, which is probably fine. Probably, in the grand scheme of things. Questions about logging in their accounts? Questions about devices?
Yeah. You said since you took high school, your kids need to take home, no school will take home too, like they did the iPad?
That I do not know. I assume so, yes. I highly doubt, and if anybody knows more, let me know. We don't know. I'm going to go with the soft yes. If they were to ask me, I would say yes. Here's how it's going to look when your students open up those laptops for the first time. It's a lot like yours. It has a dock at the bottom with some icons, except it's just the Chrome OS. And so you heard, okay, so it's Google operating system, OS. That's like my phone, right? Like Android, no. That is Google's mobile OS operating system. Just the same as your MacBook doesn't look the same as your iPhone. So Android and Chrome OS are separate, they're different things. So it doesn't operate like the Google Play Store, so students aren't gonna be able to download Clash of Clans, play it on their computer. That was a big fear last year, and it didn't happen. It's not possible. But it will look a lot like this, and this is as Reflex, so I guess it's elementary school, whatever they do on Reflex. And they'll have access right away to things like their email, searches, docs, and YouTube right there on the dock. Over there in the app drawer, and they've got their own user data over there in the far corner. It's just a browser, and that's where they'll do almost all of their work. There are things you can download onto it and stuff like that. We'll get into that later. But for the most part, this is how it'll look. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing super different. Going from a MacBook to the iPad is a big jump. Going from a cart to an iPad and back and forth is a big jump. But this, hopefully, going from whatever they had to this will make it easier for you at least because it looks more familiar than the iPad did. And you've got these two buttons down here. I like to call this app drawer because I think it sounds cool. And then down there is their user data. And that is their settings, and here's what happens when you click on those. So over here, it'll have their Wi-Fi and settings, and over here is all the programs they have access to. And again, it's nothing crazy, like if you're used to a PC, and you've got a start button, it pulls it up, no big deal. And that's where they'll do, again, a lot of their work. Cool, fun stuff for me. Any questions about procedural, logistical stuff? Yes?
I have one question. Do you know where you can go in and you put your emails back and forth? Okay, well, I got my LA's Irish.
Yeah.
I got my students, SJSD students, but when I do just regular SJSD, it pops up the password, but it doesn't accept it. So I don't know if it's been changed or what.
Yeah, I don't know either. Actually, I was using one of my wife's computers, and it was doing the same thing. I don't know what happens. And we couldn't fix it this morning, so I don't know.
Okay.
But yeah, I hear you. And she was talking about right here having different accounts. James, how do you do that? Good question. There's a button that says add account. So I'd start there. And log in, and it should keep it. All right, so instructional strategies. I want to have you do a little work. Let me get rid of all this. Go back to present mode. So the one thing you're going to use probably a lot, the one app, the one part of Google, I assume you'll use the most. It's easiest to use. It's the thing students probably have access to the most. It's right there on their dock in their app drawer. Is Google Drive. This was not super friendly to iPads. It was functional. You know, it took some know-how and some switching in and out of programs. It was easy to use with the MacBooks. And again, if you had Chromebooks in your classroom last year, this existed. One thing you might not know about Google Drive is that it operates just like any other hard drive. So holy cow, James, as soon as I've got this computer, do I have to recreate everything digitally now? No. You can upload stuff to Google Drive. Well, how do you do that? Okay, good question. Love that question. Like any other hard drive, you can click and drag stuff in and out. So hold on, you're saying, I got a file that I want the students to have, maybe a PDF or a movie file or a song or something. I want them to listen to it. Excuse me, I almost hit her right in the face. That would have been embarrassing. Oh man. I just click and drag it over and it'll be in my Google Drive, yes. And once it's in your Google Drive, it's shareable with anybody in your building, in your classroom, in another building, in another country. And I never really use this. I'm a language arts teacher. I'd like to use it more, but I teach across from our choir director. And I was looking over a student's shoulder. She had her choir Google Classroom pulled up. I thought, well, that's pretty cool. What do you do in a choir for Google Classroom? She said, well, he took a recording of my part on the piano and stuck it on Google Classroom so that all the altos in our class could hear that part wherever we were. So whether they're on their computer or whether they're on their phone or wherever it is, she has access to what her music sounds like. And it's just piano, so she can sing along with it. And so yeah, you can do this with any file and it's super useful. You can do if you can retype all your stuff if you want to, but you can also just move it around. Now, if you don't want to click and drag, if that's not what you're all about, there's a big red button, it's a new. If you pull that down, and I'll show you in a second, you can just hit the upload button. But dragging and dropping is probably what we're pretty used to. And again, that's really any file. You can operate it just like you do any other hard drive. And if I open up my Google Drive, it's right over here. Boom, new button. There you go, file upload or whatever. So that's how it works in real time. All right, so let's do a little practice. Let's imagine your students in the classroom, so work with me. You are 9th graders in my ELA class. And every day, our procedure is that you start with some sort of quick write. That's what you do while take and roll. And that's our classroom procedure happens every day. So it's part of my management strategies, and you know that. And if you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a plan for your classroom, for getting the computers out and open, I would think about it right now. Because it's different than the iPads. And you may not be used to it. If you have a cart in your room, that'll be different than if the student brings their laptop with them. Do you want them to have computer out and open as class starts? Or do you want to have a different procedure for, okay, maybe we do something different at the start of class, and then here's how we get them out. So think about that now. But in my class, you're going to start with it out and open, doing a quick write. So head over to Google Drive. James, how do I do that? Oh, you're full of good questions today. I like to go to a new tab, this little plus button right here in Chrome, or whatever the new tab button is in the browser you are using, and I type in drive.google.com. That's just how I get to it. Maybe you have it bookmarked. It's all good and all the same. All right, and so my students, maybe they have a running document that's just all of their journals. So rather than having a different document every day, they have one that's just their journal, and they update it every day or however often we do this. But for you, I'm asking you to open up a new Google Doc. So you're at Google Drive. Let's start with a brand new document for me. And if you don't know how to do that, look at the person next to you, or let me know real quick so we can all be on the same page. If this is all repeat for you, I very much apologize. I know some of you went through this last year. I promise new stuff is coming here in just a couple minutes. Mandy's going to help me out with that. Cool, so you got your new journal open. I'll go ahead and open one too. So here's an example. So here's what we're going to do for just real quick. Start of my class. Maybe we're doing some sort of a argument writing practice. That's our unit. Some sort of argument writing, some sort of nonfiction. And so I post this slide as you walk in, and you know you have your journal open, which you all do right now. So bear with me and take a couple minutes. Give me a couple sentences. Because my real students, I don't want to push around too much. So give me a couple sentences of content based on this thought. I'll read it to you because it's super dark. So I've got here a graph showing the year in news from 2014. It's got spikes from Twitter mentions of the things that happened in 2014. State of the Union address, Russian invade Crimea, Don Sterling and the Clipper controversy, Hobby Lobby decisions. I can't even read what this one is, but Ferguson, Ray Rice, Ebola, elections, etc. So hot news stories pulled from Twitter from 2014. My question to you is this, on a scale from 1 to 10, how likely are you to recommend 2014 to a friend? If that was your thoughts, hey, this was a cool year, let's go back and check it out. Or, dude, this year was whack. I do not want to go back and check this out. It's your quick, you have a couple minutes. Think about that. Using the information in front of you, go back to 2014. We will use this together, show you some instructional strategies. I'm going to be quiet finally and let you do some writing. So think about that, and I'll give you 2 minutes, 2:32. We'll move back, or we'll get back on track. Ooh, hey, watch out. There's a cord right there. Okay, 2:32. So here's mine that I typed up. I don't know, I just made that up just now in front of me. So race was a big deal in 2014. Clearly, Donald Sterling booted out of Tolen, the Clippers, and Ferguson, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's what I wanted to talk about in mine. And maybe I grade them, maybe I don't know, doesn't matter. It's just quick, right? It gave them something to do that was ELA while I was in attendance, or answering my emails, or whatever it is you do while students walk into class. Didn't take time on my part. I just posted this and the students did the work. Again, those are things you have to think about now that we all have computers ready to go, and what will separate your classroom from somebody else's. Having that in place to start the year, talk to your instructional coach, talk to your team. What is it that you guys want to do about that? But check this out. Maybe I want to extend this lesson. Say, all right, let's do a research. Man, it's a nonfiction unit. Well, the cool thing that I like about Google Docs is that if you click on, right now, there's a button that says Tools up at the top of your screen. This didn't exist on the iPads, so this is brand new for those schools. And if you click on research, it's the second one down, or at least it was when I took this screenshot, a research tab opens up to the side. And this gives you a lot of new access to things that you didn't necessarily have before. I clicked on tools and I clicked on research. Now, why I like this? Well, number one, it cuts down on a lot of tab clutter. It's actually a screenshot from my computer. And if I was a student, I'd probably have YouTube open, I might have some game open, your assignment open, and if you asked me to do some research on something, I'd open up another tab and do research over there. Except now, it's all in the same spot. So you're working with younger kids, older kids, they're not clicking back and forth between stuff, they're doing research right there. The other thing is you can pull quotes and pull pictures straight over. You don't have to copy and paste much of anything now. Hey, find a picture and add it to this. Okay, cool. Find a picture that you want, click and drag it over. I've seen people already doing it. Another reason I love this, you might hate this reason, it auto adds a citation. Holy cow, I used to have learned that myself. I know, thank goodness for Google, right? It'll add a citation, it'll even add footnotes to your document. So, all right, so try this. All right, so I'm going to extend my lesson. They did quick write. What if I said, okay, go find a quote, or go find a piece of data, or go find a picture, or go find a headline that exemplifies what you just wrote about. You could do it, and you could have a citation for it immediately. So take a couple minutes and play with it. Look at that research, see what you can pull down, see what you can cite and not cite. See if you can find additional information on the thing you wrote about. And I'll come back to you and say, 5 minutes. At 2:40, we'll move on. Cool, so there's the research function. You got that in Google Docs. You can start using that right away. I like that because you don't got to add anything to the computer. You don't got to download anything or upload anything. It's just right there in the middle of Google Docs. Anybody can use that. It's fairly agnostic. You can be a science teacher or a social studies teacher or an English teacher or whatever. And if they're doing something on Google Docs, right, or something else, they can pull up that research tab and find stuff. And again, it cuts down a lot of the clutter on the screen and things like that. Now we do run into some of the digital citizenship stuff. You're just stealing a bunch of images off the computer, and it's not really what we should be doing. And if the students just go through pulling a bunch of quotes, then again, they're not creating anything, but you know, you have control over that. Hey, stop doing that. There you go. Problem solved. Nailed it. But that's one option. Somebody else mentioned, is this available in slides? So sure. So again, I teach ELA. Maybe my students are doing a project over in Great Gatsby or something. I don't know. Then they can just hit tools and research, and there's everything they need right here in slides as well. So it works in both. And remember, you have that ability to share things back and forth with that big blue share button. You can share it with groups of students or individual students. They can share things with you. You can share things with teachers. Principals can share stuff with you and vice versa. So all that is available now. And we also have the research function right there. Questions or thoughts on the research stuff? Cool. I'll get rid of mine. And if you want to get rid of that research tab, hit the X, and it'll go away. It'll disappear. And cool. Another cool thing I like about Google Docs is the ability to add on stuff. So that research tool is right there. It's built into Google Docs and Google Slides. And this next thing I'm going to show you is an add-on. So it takes a couple extra steps for you and your students to use it. Some of you may have added this already, especially if you came to the Chrome 102 last year. I pulled this right in that, same with the research. But it's something that's pretty easy. You don't have to go through any hoops or anything to jump through. You just have to add on to it. So if you click in your, go back to your assignment, your quick write, your journal there. And I'll walk you through it from up here. Up here, next to tools, it says table. Next to table, it says add-ons. And these are some tools that add functionality to Google Docs. I'm gonna show you just one today, and then you can explore the rest of them on your own, because a lot of them are super useful. But James, how do I get add-ons? Hey, there's a button that says get add-ons. Let's start there. And the one we're going to talk about is the highlighting tool that I like a lot. Again, I think it's fairly agnostic. You can use a lot of different settings or content areas. And it's this one that says highlighting tools. Mine's bright pink on my screen. It's red up there. So go ahead and hit, it's probably a big blue button that says get add-on or install. Okay, so there we go. Mine's already installed, so I have a green button. But add this text help study skills. It'll ask you for permission. You probably want to say, yeah, sure, yeah, go ahead. It'll say, hey, I want access to your Google Docs. And you're going to say yes, that's the whole point. So if somebody next to you is struggling, hover over their shoulder, or if you need my help, let me know. Problems and that add-on. That's how you add all of the add-ons, if you want to go through and look at the rest of them. Okay, cool. All right, so if you haven't closed the research bar yet, go ahead and close it now, because you can't have a bunch of things open along the side of your document there. But we just added text help study skills. And if you click on add-ons and hover over that, it'll give you the options again for help and show highlighting tools. So if you didn't already, go ahead and show the highlighting tools. Yeah, sure. You have my permission to run. Yep, I will accept your permission. All right, cool. Here's what it looks like. Now you can do a lot of highlighting with vanilla Google Docs and Google Drive. It's possible. It takes a whole lot of clicks, which I don't like. It's super annoying to go through, highlight, click, click. Okay, now it's highlighted. Click, click, click. Cool, that's highlighted. So this one here, this text help highlighting tools, makes it way easy to highlight things. It only gives you the 4 colors, which as some people are bothered by. I can only select a text, sure. So maybe if I'm running through this lesson, I say, okay, you added some research, you did your quick write. Now go ahead and highlight your claim that you made in your argument piece. Okay, cool. So it forces people to re-examine their prejudices. There we go, that's my claim. I'm gonna highlight that in yellow. Boom, there you go. So you got one click and it's done, which is just faster. So for me, that's worth it enough that it's just faster. However, the other benefit to me, I'll show it to you up here, and then I'll let you play with it, that it curates your highlights. And my wife sitting in the room last year when I was putting this together, and I told her, hey, I love this, it's got a cool curation tool. She's like, are you actually gonna use that word for teachers? I said, heck yeah, it's a real word. It has a meaning, curates, what museum keepers do. They curate stuff. So let's say I have a couple things and a couple different, there we go. So 2 things are yellow, and again, you have other colors. It's got this button here that says collect highlights. So in my ELA world, maybe I have students type something, and I just want to see, I don't know, if they punctuated their quotes correctly. So I can make them type whatever it is. Then I can highlight all of those. But I don't need to or want to read the whole thing. Not right now, at least. Our lesson was just about those quotes. So to highlight all those quotes, they can hit this click button. And I'll have them sort by color, because I think it's more useful. Cool. All right, so it's, all right, oh, hey, this add-on created a new document with just that. Well, let's click on it and see what happens. Boom. There's just my yellow stuff. So now I've got an original document that I typed, or whatever my work is on that original document. You can have students highlight stuff into colors. and then have them pull just those highlighted sections into a new document. We didn't do anything except click a button. Right? If this was regular Google highlighting, this would have taken several steps. It would have been a pain in the butt. But this makes it easy. So awesome. I've got my highlights right here. I can send this to my teacher, or I can turn it in on Google Classroom, and it's just a thing that I care about as the teacher. I wanted to see if you could do this yellow stuff. So you still have a whole assignment over here. But all I need is this. You can do this with anything. You can have students type up something, share it with somebody else. That other person can maybe do some highlighting, curate the highlights, send the highlights back to the original student and say, hey, here's the things I noticed. Yeah, you can do it with comments too, right? I know. But this, you have a lot of options, a lot of freedom, and then again, I give you a link to the original. So I'll tell you what, if you didn't play with that yet, I'll give you a couple minutes to look at that and mess around with the curation, or mess around with other add-ons if you notice something that you might like or that you thought was cool. It's 2:49. I'll give you 6 minutes. At 2:55, we'll move on, and I'm pretty sure it'll be almost your turn. I'll show you some new stuff in Google Docs. So check the other add-ons, play with that highlighting tool. If you have a question, let me know, and I'll come back to you in just a little bit.
Okay, so it can be a standalone app that you can use, that your students can use. So here are just some of the things. Now, if you go back to your Drive, if you click New, you don't see Google Draw pop up. But if you go down here to More, back that. Google Draw is right there. And you can click on that, start a new one if you would like. Some of the things that I have used Google Draw for in my classroom, we use them for mind maps. Now, there are a lot of things out there that are already available for mind maps if you want to use them. Every student has this. It can be collaborative because they can all log into the same document that you share with them, and you can make mind maps. So if you want to click on these links, the first one, now I have this up so that when you click on it inside the presentation, it's going to ask you to make a copy. So that means you're going to get to keep a copy of this, and you can delete when you're finished. But that way, if everybody started messing with that on the screen, it didn't all happen at the same time. So this is just a very simple mind map. You can also do it where the node bend, connect with the dots at the end. There are a lot of different things in Draw that you can do. So mind mapping is probably one of my favorite tools that you can do with Google Draw. Now this next one, drag and drop activities. I have one for geography, and then I also have an example for math. And I absolutely love this functionality. When I had iPads in my classroom, I used to do this in Pages. And then when we got this, I said, what can I do, like I had in Pages, to make these type of activities? Google Draw is perfect for this. Let's hope my picture shows up. It's thinking, there we go. So I created this ahead of time. If you use Google Classroom, you can drop a copy of this. Like, every kid can log in, get their own copy of this. They can complete it for you and then submit it back to Classroom, and you have it done. All you have to do is grab one of the states. Let me find one that I know and drag it in right on top of it. And you can resize it to fit. But that's one example of a drag and drop that you can do for geography. The other one that I have is a proof, and so that's kind of more of high school thing, but I just wanted you to see some different examples of things that you could do. And so this one, I have the graphic up here so they can see. I have the proof set up, and you can grab this, move it in. Like I said, when the students are done, they resubmit this back to me in Classroom, and they have a completed activity. When you first get started, and I'm going to let you practice here in a little bit, whoever asked, it doesn't actually take that long once you start making them. The first one that I made, I had to play with a little bit to kind of figure out what I wanted it to do. But I sat down and did the states because I wanted an example other than just math, because if I had shown you this first, you would have been like, who wants that? Nobody wants that. So I did the states, one with the states, and I probably did about 15 minutes sitting there, so it didn't take very long. But then you keep it if that's an activity that you want to use year after year, you already have it. Infographics are posters. So I have an example of just a quick one that I did, and if I offend any social studies teachers in here, I apologize because I really tried to give something not math related. But this is just a quick poster that you can do inside of Google Draw. You don't have to go to Piclet or any of the other websites that you go to, Easily or Pictograph or any of those places. You can do it right inside of Google Draw. And then once again, this is collaborative. That's the really cool thing about this. If you want a couple of students or your whole class working on this at the same time, they all log into the same document, and you can do that. And the last one, I didn't create an example because this link, if you want to click on the image on your screen, it will take you to a link. This person has made a bunch of manipulatives, and that link will take you to examples of different types of manipulatives that you can put together in Draw. Same sort of drag and drop situation. Rather than recreate something that somebody else has already done much better than I did, I went ahead and gave you that link also. Now, Google Drawing can also be something that you access inside of Google Docs. And so if you go to, when you're in your doc, you go to Insert, Drawing, it will open up the drawing window. You can create that, and then when you're finished, it will paste it into your document. Why would you want to do that instead of creating your own Google Drawing? Maybe you just have a fun title for your page, and it's something that you can't do with the word art that's available. So you can do that in there. If you want just to insert a small graphic, let's say you found a map that you really liked, you wanted to add a little bit of information to it, you can put it in Drawing, do that, and then bring it back in. Or if you like fun stickers or badges that you make for your kids, you can insert those in there also. But Drawing can be done either way. Drawing doesn't have to be used in association with Google Docs, but it can be if you want to do it that way. I will sometimes have students, if they're creating a math poster for me, they will insert their drawing, and they've used different features inside of Drawing to insert something for math that they couldn't have done inside of Docs. Okay, so I think the next slide is time for you guys then to go ahead and practice doing something, and I'm going to give you a little bit more time with this because Google Draw is probably something you haven't played with a whole lot before. A couple of things. You can also change the fonts. Now, those of you who know me know that I'm a complete freak when it comes to fonts. But if you go up to the top where it says, what's the default font? James, do you know what the default font is?
I do not know.
What does it say?
Arial.
Okay, if you click on that and drop down, you will see a whole list of fonts. And then at the very bottom, it says add more. If you click on that, there's even more fonts that you can choose from. So go ahead and spend, is 5 minutes left to play with that? Okay, so 3:08. So go ahead and play with that for a little bit. And if you want to make a drag and drop and you're having trouble, just let me know. Okay, a couple of questions that were brought up. Somebody wanted to know about making the stickers. If you want a sticker to use over and over again, still create it in Google Draw, that's fine. Then you can save it and download it as a PNG image, a PDF, an SVG, and I don't remember what the first option is. But PNG would be the one that you would want to save as. To do that, you're going to want to change your screen size, because if it saved that, you know when you paste in an image, sometimes it has all of that empty space around it. That would have a lot of empty space if you had just a little sticker. So you can change the size under File and Page Setup. So right now it's set to a 4:3 ratio. If you click on that and say Custom, then you can change it to however many inches by however many inches you want. So if you were going to do a sticker, I would do either 2x2 or 3x3, and it's going to make that the right size so you don't have a bunch of wasted space. The other cool trick about this, if you want a perfect shape, so let's say I want a circle that actually looks like a circle and not an oval. If you hit the Shift button and then click and drag, now the screen resolution's off on here. Good. It looks like a circle up there. It looks like an oval on mine. If you hit the Shift button and hit Draw, then it keeps it perfectly circular. Same thing for a square. If you want a square instead of a rectangle, if you hit the Shift button before you draw, it will keep it as a square and not a rectangle. Okay. I think I hit all of the questions. Anything else with Google Drop? Because I'm just going to quickly go into Google Forms just to give you a little idea of what you can do with it, not spend very much time on it because we don't have a lot of time left. Any other questions? Please email me if you have questions. I love this feature in Google, and it's probably one of the least used features because people just don't know how to use it or they've never seen it before. Okay, Google Forms. The really cool thing about Google Forms is that you can gather a lot of input quickly. How many of you have used Google Forms? Oh, good. So we won't have to spend a whole lot of time on this. Here are just some things that you can use Google Forms for. Quizzes. Okay, that's the first one. How many of you use it for quizzes? Right, me too. You can gather information. So at the beginning of the year, if you have parents fill out information for you and you have them sign up on that little sheet, then you have to take it home and input all of that information into your computer. Have your computer set up with a form ready to go so that when parents come in at the beginning of the year for the back to school night, they input all of their information for you and it tabulates it in a Google Sheet. So it puts it in a spreadsheet for you. So that keeps you from entering all that information also. You can do surveys. So I know we use SurveyMonkey a lot, but you can also create a survey in Google Forms. Book reports. I'm glad Stumpin' Horse isn't here because he might not have liked that idea, but you can do some cool book reports. I've seen people use this for order forms. Now obviously you can't collect the money with it, but you could get a basic idea of who wants to order what and do things like that. Equipment reservation, like for computer labs, you do it for things like that. And I actually, for reservation, a friend of mine that teaches in South Missouri used Google Forms for her beginning of the year Ed Week and had people sign up through that. And she actually had it go into the Google Calendar and ran all these scripts on it and some amazing things with it. But you can do some pretty cool things with just what we're using. You can emulate an online split window testing. And I'm going to actually show you how to do this Wednesday afternoon during the tech showcase. If you want to come back Wednesday and you can see that. But what I mean is, when students test and this window scrolls, it has the reading passage, and this window scrolls and it has their questions, we can do that with forms. Okay, and like I said, I'll show you how to do that on Wednesday. Discipline PBS referrals. How many of you still fill those out on paper? Send them to the office. Have your principal set one of these up so you can just fill out a form. That way he has or she has all the information right there at their fingertips in a spreadsheet. Very easy to manipulate that data and look at. It's also a lot faster for you. You're not filling out a form and either taking it to the office or sending it to the office with it. Okay, types of responses that you can put in Google Forms. And here, let me go ahead and make that bigger so that we can see it. You can do just plain text, paragraph text, multiple choice, checkboxes. You can choose from a drop-down list. And I mean, you see all of the things that you can choose from. So when you're creating questions, those are the types of responses that you can choose from to have the students enter or the parents enter or whoever. You have a lot of themes to choose from. And I think part of this is missing, but there's also their website that I have. If the themes that you don't have here you don't like, there are other places online where you can find more themes to use. How many of you have used Flubaroo with forms? A few of us. Okay. Flubaroo is an add-on James was talking about earlier, and it will actually grade your quizzes for you based on responses that you've entered, and then give you a spreadsheet result of all of the scores. And I know at Central, our Commerce department uses Flubaroo all the time, and they love it. We actually, for our EOC practice tests, we would have our students take it in a Google form that we created. We use the same thing. You can then email the responses to the students. They know how they've done on it. They can see which ones they missed also, because that's part of their input is they put their email address in. And some of you have already played with GMath as one of the things that you can insert. The reason I included this with forms is because if I'm making a math test, I'm probably going to need to insert some math equations, some graphs. You can do that with GMath. It's the same add-on that you're going to put in Google Docs or Google Sheets or whatever it is that you want to include with that. Not moving on? Doesn't like me. Oh, we may have killed it. So sad.
This is my life, right?
Oh, Beautiful. There we go. Okay. Are we at the end? Okay. Actually, because we're drawing near to the end of our time, because we were going to get you out of here about 3:30, James, I'm going to pass this off. James is going to let you practice or look at some Google Classroom stuff, and then I want you to go ahead and practice with forms. If there's a back to school sort of thing you want to set up, go ahead and start on that. If you think maybe you want to use it for quizzes and are kind of interested in seeing how Flipgrid works, we can help you with that also.
Hey, yeah, so speaking of Google Classroom, we don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to walk you through a whole lot. If you're on the iPads last year, probably didn't work great. Worked maybe okay. And maybe you had some growing pains with Google Classroom. Maybe you didn't use it at all. So for me, after using it, from September till now, I can tell you Google Classroom is not a replacement for a lot of stuff that you may do somewhere else. Google Classroom for me is the best way to use Google Drive with students. So maybe you saw something that we did today. Like, oh, I'd love to have my students try that. Okay, so hypothetical situation. Walk through this in your head. So, okay, so you're not using Google Classroom. You're just using regular standard Google tools. So they log in, students do something on Google Drive. How are you going to grade it? Cool. Well, they'll probably share it with you. Okay, so what are you going to do? Well, you're going to go to your email. You'll have 30 emails, 20 emails. If you're a high school teacher, 120 emails, all full of that one student's work. Okay, now where are you going to put the feedback for that work? How are you going to grade that? Well, you're going to sit there and write an email response back to each kid. Maybe. It's one option. But there's a lot of red tape and a lot of, not red tape, but there's a lot of steps where stuff could go wrong. You could do something wrong, a student could do something wrong. So Google Classroom, well, it does have some limited functionality. There's no quiz function, there's no forums, there's no chat, a lot of these things that we expect when we look at like Edmodo or something. But for using Google Drive for student work and instructional stuff, it's a very simple way of getting stuff back and forth. But when we started using Google Classroom, a lot of people said, well, there's so many things you can't do with it. And we sort of kept saying, again, well, yeah, but it literally just came out. Like when we had computers, Google Classroom wasn't even released yet, so it came out a couple of weeks later. And since then, they've added a lot of functionality to Google Classroom. So if you tried it, didn't like it, gave up on it, I'm like just kept saying, I'm not ashamed you into using it. I don't care what you use in your classroom. I'm not your boss. But it's pretty convenient. Maybe Sandy will say something different. But it's pretty easy and pretty simple. So it used to be one teacher, one classroom. Well, that's new. Very recently, in the last 3 weeks, they added multiple teachers. You got 3 third grade teachers. You can all be part of one Google Classroom. I can see benefits to that. I can see downsides to that. But if you're all doing the same thing, then that's a lot easier to guys to share stuff. One thing that was super annoying for me using Google Classroom was I might have 3 ELA 11 classes. So Sunday night, I'll post the same assignment to all 3 of my classes. Some real studious students would come in because I might not see that kid till Tuesday because we're on block scheduling. So a kid comes in Tuesday, say, I got everything done. I say, wait, what? You haven't even seen me. How do you have everything done? Well, I saw you posted it Sunday night, so I went in and did it. Yep. Okay, well, enjoy the lesson that you're going to learn now, and hopefully you don't have to redo all of that stuff. Well, now I can prep for classes and then assign a time for that to come out. That was one of my huge features I wanted. Well, they added that. So that's really helpful. So I can go ahead and plan those lessons and tell Google to push it out later. It auto saves a lot now. They finally added a mobile app, which may have helped better last year, but whatever. You can now view all student assignments on one page. Also super annoying last year. I had to click through each individual thing, which was fine. I mean, it's no different than like a stack of papers that I'm going through. But now I can pull up a whole class and all their assignments on the same page. And so if you go back to Google Classroom now, you probably see that. You can view it with the students you worked with last year. And then they added some more teacher controls. The comment stream used to be pretty wide open, and your options were pretty much to shut it down or let it open. And they've added a lot of new features to mute students or to kick students and give students different levels of availability of that stream. And one thing I haven't tried, they just added as well, is to archive classes. So I'm going to give that a shot later today. So I'm all done with this ELA 11 class. Let's see what happens when I archive it. So hopefully it'll still be there next year. I can reboot it as a new class with new students. And I haven't used that, but those top few are super convenient for me, and they make your life a lot easier. It gives you one space with all of this work. So all that stuff that we did today that you thought was pretty neat, hopefully if we did our job, Well, Google Classroom, a really easy way to collect it and grade it and send feedback to students without sharing this. Oh, you didn't give me the right permissions. Oh, wait, hold on, you shared that to where? Okay, no, that's my teacher one, not my student one. I need you to reshare with my students. No, none of that happens. Well, Google Classroom, yeah, she's been there. It's rough. And the last thing I'll say before we open it up for questions is that everything we showed you today is available right now on Google. We didn't show you anything that costs extra. We didn't show you anything you don't have access to. So, like we could have sat here and talked about like exit ticks, which is a really cool little program. Some schools buy it, some schools don't. But you have to have your students sign up for it, start a new classroom. Your students right now have access to everything we showed you. They in fact can't get on the Chromebooks without giving themselves access to it. They have to log in, what I showed you before. So it's not like, well, I can't get to it. Yeah, we all can get to it all of the time now. This stuff is free and readily available for us. So that's kind of the power of Google for education. They're sort of watching over us and collecting all of our data, and we can go over all that if you want, whatever, you know. But hey, for us, for education, it's working really well right now. So everything today, everything in that slideshow is all ready to go. You can go home and practice right now. You don't got to sign up for anything. You don't got to pay for anything. And neither will your students in August. Cool.